morning, everybody. It's another great day, and I'm so happy to be coming to you this morning. I feel like I got a lot to say. As y'all can see, I feel pretty good in the morning times. It's when I like to come to you and share my thoughts, and hopefully, some of my words can inspire others. But I wanted to take a little bit of time this morning and delve a little more deeply into the subject of freedom and wealth. I made a little short yesterday or the day before about wealth and freedom. And as far as stats go on TikTok and YouTube, it was pretty good. But I got a lot of comments about how to obtain it. And I just wanted to share a little story with you. Back in 2000, let me see here. Back in 2018, I had moved to Dallas. I'm from Florida originally, and I owned and was 50% partner of a marketing firm here in Florida. And I made some contacts in Dallas, and I moved to Dallas, and I opened up shop there in Dallas, and all was going well. And I lived in a big house, and I had a great big office, lots of office furniture, and in my personal belongings, I had owned about 1,000 CDs, like music CDs. I had a big music collection. And before we moved to Dallas, and when we got to Dallas, we had spent a bunch of money on furniture for the house. It was a great big 2-story house with, it had more rooms than we even used, and we put furniture in all the rooms, all this kind of stuff. And I was in a relationship with this chick, and I don't know that we were really right for each other. We ran a business together for 4 or 5 years, and it was successful in uh, for what it was, and for what we did. But I started feeling like, despite all the success, despite all the material possessions, despite the big house, and despite the name we were creating and building for ourselves in Dallas, I began to feel a whole lot like I was in prison. And I couldn't just get up and leave. I had no freedom. I had some money, I had some possessions, but I had no freedom. And and the more I wanted just to get up and go, I couldn't, because I had I had an obligation here, and I had an obligation there, and I owned all this stuff. And life began to teach me, the more stuff you own, the less free you are. Now, that would seem to fly in the face, or that would seem to be opposite of what you would think. It flies in the face of conventional thinking. Normally, you're thinking, oh, I'll be a millionaire, I'll have this, I'll have this, I'll have this. The more stuff you own, the less freedom you have. That's what life taught me. And when I left Dallas, it took me about 4 or 5 months just to get to a point where I could leave. I sold everything I owned. Everything I owned. If it didn't fit in my car, I sold it. And I walked out of that relationship. I walked out of that house. I walked away from that business, and I got in my car and I drove to Denver. And in Denver, I had another opportunity just to go to work at a restaurant. I was part of an opening team that was opening a brand new restaurant there. I drove DoorDash on the side, and I did a little bit of internet marketing work, building websites, stuff like that on the side. I had a little side hustle. And I got to Denver, and I stayed in an Airbnb. I stayed in a rooming house. I just rented a room. And while I was in Denver for 2020 and 2021, that was probably a time in my life when I owned the least, but I was the happiest and I was the freest. I was 2,000 miles away from anybody that I knew. I had just sold all my possessions in order to make the move. I didn't own anything except my car. I was making payments on my car, but I owned my car. Uh, as far as that went, and I owned my computer, and I owned some clothes. I had sold everything in Dallas, and when I was staying in this rooming house in Denver, I had never experienced such freedom. I made more money than what I spent. My expenses were really, really low. And I was making a decent wage. I was making decent income. I was probably bringing in $7 grand a month. I mean, it's humble. I mean, it's not millionaire status or nothing like that, but it's all right. You can get by $7 grand a month. And I was probably spending 3 to 4 grand a month. So I had 3, 4 grand a month extra every month. I didn't have any wife. I didn't have any girlfriend. I didn't have anybody clawing at my money. I didn't have any possessions holding me down. And I would get up and I would go explore Colorado. I'd explore the mountains. If I wanted to get up in the middle of the night and go somewhere, I didn't have to answer no questions. If I wanted to sleep in all day, I didn't have to answer no questions. And life taught me the less you own, the freer you are. It's when we begin to get a little bit of money and we have to go out and buy this. We have to go out and buy that. And we give a little piece of our soul. We give a little piece of ourself away every time we make a purchase. You know, there's a whole bunch of people that would love just to get up and leave, but they can't because they got their house. They can't because they got this. They can't because they got this. Everything you purchase takes a piece of you. And just in my own life, this isn't up for debate. This isn't up for argument. Everybody's life is different. But life taught me the more you own, the less free you are. And I was talking I'm in this little short that I did the other day about wealth and in freedom and happiness. And some people was talking, well, you have to have $1 million or you have to be a millionaire. And I was nowhere near a millionaire, but man, I woke up every morning feeling like one because I spent less money than I made and I was free to get up any day that I wanted and do whatever I wanted. I wasn't in a position where I was trading my time for dollars. I did move to Denver working at a restaurant, but if you'll recall, I said this was 2020 and they shut everything down due to COVID. At that time, I was just driving DoorDash and I had my side hustle going on with the internet marketing, the websites, that kind of thing. So basically, I didn't have a boss. I didn't report to nobody. I got up when I wanted. I went to bed when I wanted, and I did what I wanted during the day. Now, ain't that the whole point of being a millionaire? Is to have the freedom to do whatever it is you want to do. And I learned then that you don't have to be a millionaire in order to live like a millionaire. Wealth is not about money. Wealth is about freedom. The health in your body to be able to get up and go, the freedom of your time to own your time, not being a slave to a job where you have to trade your hours for dollars. Now that's important to get started for a lot of people, but you can't stay there because the hours you have in a day is finite. It's limited. Even if you work 24 hours a day, which we know you can't, but even if you did, you're limited. You can only make so much money because you can only work so many hours. We have to find a way to create passive income or generate an income that doesn't require hours or a trade-off for hours. I like to build websites, and of course, I got to put some time into that. But I don't get paid by the hour. I get paid by the site, and I can kick out a site pretty quick. Um, and I have often found that whenever I'm not working my job and I'm working a side hustle instead, I always make a lot more money. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. I got a lot of comments in that video, so I wanted to clarify. Man, the richest I have ever been, and I have made a lot of money, but the richest I have ever been is probably when I had the least, and life taught me that. So let me go over real quick a few of these questions here I got here. Colton says, hi, you. 4-Way says hi in a whisper voice, so I'll whisper to you, hi, good morning. The Alchemist says, single life is great. Ding, what's the purpose if you don't have anyone to enjoy it with? I didn't say don't have somebody. Man, we all need somebody. I was just saying at this point in my life, I had walked away from an abundance and I had walked into a very little. And in my life, that made me happier. Now, eventually I found somebody. I'm married now and I love her. But she wasn't with me I'm in Colorado. I didn't meet her there. Let's see here. It comes in divine timing. Absolutely, it does. So I just wanted to clarify that for those of you out there who think that happiness is found in worldly possessions, it's actually the opposite. The more stuff you own, the less freedom you have, the more enslaved you become. Think about it.